Right. If you come down to kind of where that other property line is.
Yeah, I'm just double checking my measurements real quick, so. Yeah, so 532. And then from here?
Well, from State Street to where the corner of that jut out is, where the new little portion is. I mean, what's gonna be the shortest distance?
Oh, like, so this'll be,
So about there to State Street, what's that distance?
yeah. Sorry,
No.
I'm just gonna,
Michael, if you'd need to go down,
But
because we won't go that deep to the north. Yeah,
yeah, I was just, they don't own this property here, so I was trying to give the best.
I'm just trying to think, but it looked like it was pretty close to 500 feet anyway, so you're not encroaching too much upon that.
I mean, if I just went from,
Michael, if you show the AutoCAD drawing I sent you, I offset that 500 feet, so it shows it really well. And
Yeah,
it's in
and
your presentation.
yep. And I should have brought this up as well.
Yes, that's.
So-
Okay, so that's where the 500 feet is.
Yep.
Yeah, so those new yellow lines,
So from that,
so the red is the existing 500 feet, and then the yellow shows where the new boundary will be.
yeah, so my question was from that yellow corner, we're looking at probably 400 feet. That was my only question, but we determined earlier that a lot of commercial development develops fine in 300 feet. I just didn't want to make that just so narrow that we're hampering something there, but I think we're.
And I've already got I mean, I don't know if you have it, but there's like a concept that with parking on that west side, you could do a decently sized commercial, like office building of between 50 and 60,000 square feet. And it's still like up closer to State Street and plenty of parking in the back.
It's right there.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's not really the shape that we'd be building it, because obviously if we go and pick up that ice cream cone shaped lot between Ace and our property, it kind of squares everything back up.
No, so that's, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't
Yeah.
that we were encroaching on something that would make that a weird, unbuildable commercial
As you
lot.
can see, that kind of lines up with Ace Rent's property already, you know, so like where the back of their property is, it lines up with that already.
Yeah, so in the future, if they pick that up, it would almost be 500 feet
Yeah.
still. Yeah, we asked them as a city if they would put together just a concept rendering that showed, to make sure that a viable commercial use can still happen on that property, and we appreciate them putting that together.
That's the only questions I have. Does anybody else have questions for staff? Okay. This is a public hearing request, so if we don't have any more questions for staff or the applicant, why don't we go ahead and, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The public hearing is now open. Is there anybody here from the public who would like to comment on this application?
I've got just some questions.
Let's have you.
Okay, why don't you come up and just
Trade
state your
spots,
name
or-
and so we can have it for the record? Yep.
Just living kind of off 40th South there, with that potentially developing, what is there plans to upgrade that street to handle the traffic? Right now it's narrow, there's no sidewalks down either side of it, majority of the street. People, in my opinion, drive way too fast going down it, and there's no speed controls along that street, so I'm just curious what the plan is to upgrade 40th South, because you're gonna get a lot of traffic when that's developed, especially if it's developed into commercial real estate that is gonna go down that street.
So, Mike, is there any plans, maybe you're pulling up the general plan and
Yeah.
for that street?
I mean, as much as I'd love to keep it an orchard, I don't have the money to buy it and let it be that way, so. I'm just,
Just keep it in order.
I mean, we have it planned, it'd be right here, so it's planned still as a local street, which would be a 50-foot right-of-way, but, we don't have curb gutter, I mean, they would be required to put curb gutter and sidewalk on the new commercial property,
yeah.
but other than that, that's something the city's probably gonna have to take on to, you know, expand, you know, widen if it needed to be in areas and add curb gutter and sidewalk. So that'd be, the rest of that would be more of a city initiated project at some point. But probably with this, we'd want them to provide potentially a traffic study because of 400 or 40 west or 40 south. And so our engineering department will have to look at that, but I think you're a few years off from that.
We're not looking to develop it yet, but like even down that side, you know, by where Laura Washington lives, you can start to see how wide it's supposed to be.
Well,
But,
the one side's developed, the other side's still
Yeah.
no curb and gutter.
but if you take it from Laura Washington's, that does have sidewalk,
Yeah.
curb and gutters, you have to use your imagination and go, okay, well, you know, you got this up there and
It's not an easy.
you'd have to take a big tree out of the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when it gets developed, all of that stuff will have to, we're expecting to dedicate, you know, road, property to the roadway. And obviously, whatever that needs to be, it's definitely not the size it needs to be,
The
right?
south side's not a problem, but you run into some real problems on the north side of 40th South.
Yeah,
The
because it's a
power poles and different other
8
issues.
feet wide right now is the
Yeah.
right of way in the city. You know, we have it planned as 50
Which, I
feet.
mean, on one
but-
side, it might be a good thing, cause it might dissuade people from going down that street if they don't really need to, you know?
So,
If you were able to open it wide open, you'd have a lot more traffic on it, but it is a problem, the north side of that street.
is a problem. But the south side, I think the answer to your question is if they were to develop that commercially, they would be required to wherever their part of the side, where the sidewalk would go in, they'd have to put those improvements in, and at that point,
That's the
That-
easiest part.
Well, yeah, I understand when they develop it, it will get curb and gutter, but the concern is the rest of the street is not gonna be to a spec, and you're gonna get a lot of traffic. You know, whether you
yeah.
no, they're not gonna go out the state street, they're gonna go down to get on the freeway, and they're gonna go down that street, regardless of how wide it is.
And so at that point, that's something that will be considered in that application. So I don't think the city has current funding or plans to do anything currently on that road, but it is something to be considered, and we appreciate your concern. Does anybody have any questions or more comments about that?
Just agree, I've been down that road many times and it's pretty thin. It's a lot of money.
Okay.
Okay.
Any
Any other
other
questions for us?
comments anybody else would like to make, or if you have more comments, or?
That's the only thing I was just concerned with, would be traffic going down that road once it is developed out, so.
The trick is getting everybody to do it at the same time, cause you can do the commercial piece, but then there's
Yeah,
still.
that's the easy part.
Yeah, the commercial part that they're gonna be responsible for. And whether there could be a special assessment, you know, I mean, the city's gonna have to work through all that if it was gonna go into curb and gutter all the way down. So,
Yeah,
and I don't think that's currently on the plan, but we appreciate your concern. And we'll note that for when, especially for when they do bring a site plan to develop that commercially, we'll deal with that. Okay. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to make a compliment, sorry. Slip, a comment on this application?
I have a question.
Okay.
It's just mostly for the commercial property that you want to do. Are you wanting to just do a commercial building my concern is we have that overlay for the commercial properties that you can do multi-density.
Yeah.
Let's have you
Yeah,
address
the-
the.
we're gonna ask the
Sorry, I'm talking
commission
to
and we'll
Jeremy.
ask the applicant.
You can do multi-density housing in a commercial property, right?
You cannot.
Currently, no.
No, you're not doing that anymore?
That, there are certain overlays that can be done, but that would be a zoning change that would need to come. Currently, this commercial property can't have any high density. Am I correct, Mike?
Can't have any residential.
Any residential on it.
Okay.
We do have an ordinance that we're for deep commercial lots, and this actually, by what they're doing, actually makes this a less deep commercial lot and
Okay.
probably less likely to qualify for any high-density housing.
Perfect. That's great.
One, can I speak to that a little bit? Just,
Jeremy,
the
let's
whole-
have you.
No, yeah, just into the microphone so people
so
can
the
hear.
whole thought of this and me purchasing this was to, I guess, control what happened there. Because I didn't want high density. I didn't want a gas station or a car lot. Sorry, Lindon, I know it's a lot of sales tax. But,
Reception center.
or a reception center or restaurants even. Like I want the lighting to be like work hours and things like that. So for me, like the ideal thing in my mind is an office building only 2 stories high, so it still maintains views because I live in that area. So like all of the things that you're worried about or other people are worried about, I'm also worried about. And so like that's why I bought it, because it's not a great, you know, like I'd rather leave it an orchard, but it's hard to maintain.
Come on, just do it.
Oh, hey guys.
Oh,
Jeremy
Would-
Ackley.
yeah, and would you state your name just?
Kelly Olson, sorry.
Okay. And we didn't have you state your name, just so we can have them for the record. Thank you.
Chad Olson.
Okay, thank you.
I have
Okay.
I'm not opposed to what he wants to do.
And so if you,
Okay, it wouldn't be the first time.
as we said, if you'd please state your name for the record, that would be great.
Dorothy Olson. Got the Olson crew here.
Okay.
My concern is, Chad probably already addressed it, the street, the narrowness of the street, but also there are a ton of semis that go up and down that street. I don't think it's a street the semis should be traveling on. I don't know if this will bring more semis, I don't know. So I don't know if there is a way on a GPS to put that street. I don't know why they come off the freeway, go through 4-way stops, make a bad turn at the end of 40 South, it's narrow, and go up there. They block the whole road. I've been trying to get onto State Street, and a semi has been trying to turn down, and they honk at me, yell nasty words at me, and I say, look, I can't go left, I can't see, I don't want to go right, and he shouldn't be going down the street. So I don't know if the city is aware of all that, but it happens. And I guess if you widen the street, it would fix that, but then it would still put more traffic. And also, it's a hill. Ton of cars go up and down that street. I know years ago they said it wasn't a feeder street, but it is. And I know the situation with no sidewalks, but nobody ever sits on it for the speed. Cars, especially going to work in the morning, go really fast up the street, and there's no place for kids to walk. Anyway, that's just my main concern. I mean, Mike probably drives up the street a lot.
I go slow so I can count the deer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, that was my concern.
Thank you.
Mike, is there a way to get that on GPS? Cause it is, yeah, and it's not a street for 18-wheelers for sure.
Yeah, that's beyond my capabilities, but,
It'd be worth
Can
looking
look at
into
it.
if that, you
Can
know.
you put us?
Can we legally tell an 18-wheeler they can't drive on that street? I don't think we
It's a
can.
public
It's a-
street, but where it's not improved, it has no walkways, and
I
it's so
understand.
narrow, common sense would tell you no, but whether we can enforce something like that, it'd be worth looking into, cause it really is a dangerous place to have 18-wheelers.
Noted, and I'll bring it up to the rest
Yeah,
of our.
I mean, my guess is they're driving there because the GPS tells them to drive there, and, cause it doesn't really make a lot of sense that way.
Yeah.
Or they're lost or something, cause you would hope if they did it once, they wouldn't wanna do it again.
So this probably doesn't pertain to what he wants to do, but also the fruit stand, it probably won't be there anymore.
So,
It will until. we
and
do
just,
something.
and yeah, just let me.
I love-
Because you guys got here late, they're
Yeah.
not proposing any development right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the commercial
All
side.
all they're doing is looking at expanding the lot at 158 west, 110 south, and realigning the boundaries a little bit of
Okay.
commercial, because there's, it's already zoned commercial
Yeah, I know that.
portion, kind of.
Yeah,
I love the fruit stand, it's nice, but whoever put a bus stop right there in front, again, to get on from 40 South, cars parking, I know they opened a parking lot, some people use it, some people don't, but then the neighbor across the street sells pine nuts. I don't know if they have a permit to do that, but people come, park right in the middle of the road and go shopping at pine nuts and the fruit stand. So I don't know if that's legal or what. Sorry.
so, thank you. So Mike, that maybe is something for enforcement to look at once those open, with that. If you'd like, come up and state your name, and, yep, you can come up and,
Douglas Olson. I live just down the road.
We need you to speak.
can we speak into the microphone?
Well, I'd like to use this.
You can grab that so we can hear you.
Will
You
it
can
move?
take it, yeah. you
Yeah,
can
take it with you.
Okay. I'm not sure, Jeremy, what you've got in mind here, just what I've been told, but I'm wondering how far you're going down. So this is the highway,
Yep.
the old home, and you're wanting to pick this piece up right here, correct?
No,
No.
No, what that's showing is that's gonna be residential, the red is gonna be all
Oh,
residential.
okay.
So,
So you're going just past the orchard?
we're just stating that everything on this side of the red line is commercial, and everything on this side of the red line, the left side, is residential.
So-
And
so-
down.
yeah, that little dog leg is really what they're picking up as residential, the
They're not
red.
proposing any development.
Yeah, and we don't own the piece like that goes up to 40 South. So Nyla Wooten's brother still owns it.
Okay, you don't own that, just the,
But we're saying, and they've already signed something saying that they agree that that should be residential.
okay. Yeah, my concern was its narrowness, and then you're just gonna compound it by more and more
Yeah,
vehicles and so forth.
and so I think the thing we're saying is when the Wooten property develops,
Yeah.
they'll have to put curb and sidewalk in that as a residential. And when the commercial does, that will have to be curb and sidewalk. So really, all that will be developed according to the master plan of the street. So that concerned, at least on the south side, it will be widened and taken care of when that develops. But right now, this application isn't to develop any of that. It's just to rezone that part in red, make sure our maps match, that's all residential.
Okay, and what you're planning on the freeway, on the highway, what kind of vehicle traffic will that?
He doesn't have anything
It
planned
doesn't have
yet.
anything. It's nothing.
There's just,
We're
yeah,
not planning on developing it yet. So basically, all the pine nuts and fruit that are gonna sell there is gonna bring traffic.
so this application has no plans for that commercial part. They're just talking about the residential part that's further west.
Okay,
So if we did a commercial building, it would only bring people that are parking in that parking lot to go to the commercial building, but that's, I don't know how far out that is.
So when a commercial project is proposed, then we will renotice everyone again and give you a site plan at that time with the notice so you can review it.
Okay, that's probably my fault for not understanding more of what's going on, because my understanding that this would be all commercial. And of course, there'd be a ton of traffic up and down, and that road just will not stand it unless we widen it all the way up and down, and that's almost impossible probably at this stage.
Yep, and that's correct right now. That's what it is all commercial. And they're verifying that that part that's in red is really residential. So this is making less commercial. It's zone commercial, and it's gonna be zoned residential. The part out by State Street will remain zoned commercial, and when they develop it, the neighbors will be noticed, and we will all take a look at what they're gonna develop there. But right now, that's not what they're asking.
Okay.
And I'm totally happy to talk to you about it, as long as you want, whenever.
Okay.
You're fortunate that Jeremy's one of the residential neighbors to the property.
Well, he's been in our ward for ever and ever, and
Yeah.
I'm just not challenging him. I just want to know more of what this is going to do and how it's going to impact.
Just cleaning it up and lessening the commercial potential.
Because that road is probably the worst one in town, for many reasons. Whoops. For many reasons, it's just so narrow, and you're lucky to get two cars side by side, let alone anything bigger. So, okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Is there any other public that would like to speak during the public hearing? Seeing none, then I call for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The voting, any opposed? I should ask that before I say the voting is unanimous. Okay. So I believe procedurally, let's talk about item 4 and have a vote, and then we'll open a second public hearing and see if there's any more comments on item 5. So is there any discussion on item 4 anymore, or anybody comments or questions? I think it does a good job of cleaning things up, so if we're all in agreement, then I'm ready to entertain a motion. And remember, this is a recommendation.
I'll make a recommendation to approve ordinance 2025-03-0 to amend the Lindon City General Plan, future land use for parcels 14-069-0331 and parcel 14-069-0332 as indicated in the adopting ordinance with the following conditions. Any and all items on the staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Oh, Rob did.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously, and we'll move forward to the city council probably Monday.
Monday.
Okay. So we'll move on to item 5. Does the city have any additional presentation for item 5?
We do not, except for the motion, I messed up on the motion. It should be to recommend instead of to approve.
Okay,
Zone change.
yeah.
Maybe, Mike, could you just explain quickly, though, for those that came in late, what this is doing?
Yeah, so again, this is what the current zoning looks like on the property. The pink color is commercial, and the green color is residential, R120, meaning 20,000 square foot lots. So this is what's current on the property. What's being proposed is to that the Wooten property here goes all residential, so it squares it off, so it's all residential R120. You pick up this little bit of commercial right here, and then the residential R120 extends behind these two lots on 110 South. And so that would be the extent of the zone change.
Okay. So we need to open a public hearing for this item. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The public hearing is now open. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to comment on this item of action? First, we changed the the general plan. Now we're changing the zone. Hearing none, I will call for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The public hearing is now closed. Any more discussion on this matter? Then I'll call for a motion, and just remember that you need to move to recommend for this motion.
I'll make that motion. I move to recommend approval of ordinance 2025-04-0 to amend the Lindon City zoning map and adjust the R1-20 and general commercial zoning boundaries as identified in the ordinance with the following conditions, all items of the staff report.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item 6 of the staff report. This is a subdivision plat amendment, and this is just administrative, so it doesn't require a public hearing, and the approval will be here with this body. This is a plat amendment for Plat D, amended Lindon Treasury subdivision at 158 West, 110 South. The applicant is Todd Train from Millhaven. Presenting staff is Mike Florence, and so if the applicant wants to come again to the front, and we'll go ahead with the presentation.
So with this plat amendment, the applicant's proposing to increase the lot size for the property here at 158 West, 110 South. The current lot size is 21,505 square feet. They're proposing to increase that lot size to just over 39,000 square feet. So that lot will be expanded to go up to share a boundary with the Wooten property here. We've went through the subdivision requirements. It meets all of those. It met them in the first place, right, when it was platted initially, and so everything's been installed with the previous subdivision, so this is just expanding it. The one thing we did condition the subdivision approval on is that the city council amend the general plan and the zoning map. And so this will be, if you decide to approve it, it'll kind of be on hold until after Monday night when the council gets a chance to approve it. We gave you 5 conditions here before you with approval. The subdivision plat amendment. Again, right now it's just for this lot 1. If the Glens decide to expand their lot, then they'll come back through the same process at a future date to increase their lot size and do another plat amendment. So with that, do you have any questions for me or the applicant?
And he owns the one above it, he's just making his lot bigger.
So it makes it almost a full acre when you're done. Is there any more comments or questions from the commission?
For my own benefit and education, so a plat amendment, you said that needed to go to the city council?
No.
Oh, because you were talking about Monday.
Yeah, we're just, you would get any condition of so tonight, if you approve this plat amendment, I'm asking you to approve it contingent upon the city council approving the zone change on
Oh,
Monday.
the zone change, okay, yeah, because plat amendment usually doesn't go to them.
Yep.
Okay, contingent on the zone change, okay, all right.
Any other questions for staff or the applicants?
So which part of this land do you own then? I'm just trying to understand, because the Wooten's owned just north of it.
So currently I own, yeah, if you can pull up.
He owns it all.
So I own that
That's-
piece that's highlighted and then that piece.
And
that's
then,
highlighted.
and then Ackley Investments, which is
And then
Jeremy, owns the
the rest
commercial
of
as
it.
well.
Okay,
So the Wootens own the piece right there.
okay, thank you.
So he currently owns everything in it, but it's part of 3 parcels.
Gotcha.
I'm assuming this will make it one parcel with this amendment.
Correct.
Yes.
It'll be part of the subdivision plat.
Thank you.
And just so, this was the original subdivision plat. So whenever you want to expand a lot or a subdivision, then you have to come before the planning commission for a plat amendment on that, so.
Anything else? Okay, then I would call for a motion.
I'll motion.
Okay,
I move to approve the applicant's request for plat amendment approval for the Plat D amended Lindon Treasury subdivision located at 158 West, 110 South, with the following conditions. The plat is approved conditioned upon the city council approving the general plan, future land use map, and zoning map amendments. The applicant will continue to work with the city engineer to make all final corrections to the subdivision plat. 3, prior to plat recording, the applicant will update the final plat Mylar to include notarized signatures and obtain signatures of all entities indicated on the subdivision plat attached hereto. 4, the plat will meet applicable specifications as found in the Lindon City Development Manual. And 5, all items of the staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Good luck with everything, and we'll look forward to seeing if we get another plat amendment, and then when we get a commercial development when it happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Someday.
Thank you.
It works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we will move on to item 7 of the agenda, and item 7 is the 2025 Planning Commission Chair election.
Well, late in the year doing this, but we at least,
early.
yeah,
Already?
yeah. So at least need to have a discussion about it and see where you want to go on this. And
I think Steve's doing a great job.
Well, Steve, are you going to go ahead and serve again? As far as a planning commissioner?
Number 1, I don't know if I can make that decision. The mayor needs to make that decision.
But originally you said you weren't going to.
I would like to see the temple through. I don't know if, so when I have my discussion with the mayor, I don't know if I'll commit to 3 years. So it'll be probably up to her. I would like, I mean, I might stay 3 years, I don't know, but I don't know if I can commit to 3
You'd
years.
at least be here one more year.
I would like to be through the end of the year if the mayor is agreeable to that.
And would you be open to continuing to serve as chair?
I make the motion that he serve as chair another year.
Right? I second it.
You're doing a great job. Got a motion and a second, Steve.
That's great. I don't know if they do.
I guess.
I don't know if you can just serve for, doesn't it have to be an additional term though?
I don't know,
Well,
we'll ask
that's
Brian
what
and let him.
I think what the mayor would probably do is appoint me for a term, and then I would decide if I could fulfill that term based upon whatever conditions happen in my life.
That's fair.
Rob has been our vice chair.
Yes, so for your motion, you probably need to motion.
I move that we just keep it the same for another year.
That's fine. Yeah, that's great.
I second that as well.
Okay.
Yep.
We've got a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nobody asked me if I was gonna.
Well, that's why I'll abstain from voting.
No, I'll say yay.
I'll say yay to Rob staying on, so we voted for each other. Okay,
Just raise your hand, you'll do it.
so I guess Rob and I will stay on for this year.
Wonderful.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you both.
Kinda like being the Vice President of the United States, you don't do anything.
You've had to do a couple meetings.
Yeah,
I have.
you've seen me through, yeah, you had one of the roughest ones, so thank you.
That was not fair.
That's true.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 8 of our agenda, which is our Community Development Director report and any items from the commissioners.
Yeah, Britton's got to take off in just a minute, but he has an announcement for you.
I do. So after been about a year since I've started working here, but I will unfortunately have to be leaving in about 2 weeks because I'll be starting at the University of Utah this August for my master's degree. So thank you guys all for.
Oh.
Well, I'm not so sure. We ought to be congratulating
Right.
the University of Utah.
Congratulations.
Hopefully that.
You'll be missed. You've done well.
I'll be missing you guys too. It was a tough decision, but I have a lot of people backing me up with the decision, and I think it'll be a good choice in the long run. So.
Yep. 2 weeks, you said.
Yeah, the 23rd will be my last day, so I'll likely be there during the next city council meeting next week, and after that, that'll probably be my last public meeting. So
you're
You were
starting summer
just
too?
getting so you knew everything.
I'll be doing an internship up in Salt Lake during the summer, and then potentially transitioning there to a part-time position while I'm at school. So.
Well, sincere best to you.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Michael has to go to work again.
That's my lot, is to train planners and then have them go on and do a master's degree. So
Gosh, I'm sorry.
Seems to be a lot.
I've earned this the last 19 years of my career. So
That's right. Oh,
Anything else
geez.
from
just keep you updated on some items with the council. They
Yeah.
approved to work on purchasing the Thornton property at their last meeting, which is they're at 400 West and 400 North, this property here. And so their plan is they would like to put in, there's a need for a detention basin, so they'd like to put in that at least an acre of detention basin. That will also be a park, a new city park as well. But you know, that could be a little ways off till that's funded and stuff. So, and then this road connection would be made between 400 North and 400 West as well.
So once the city gets what they wanted, are they gonna turn it over to potential development then?
You know, the council's kind of split on that. There's some of them would just like to keep it and see what comes about, and you know, they don't want to make any commitments right now. And the road will not be a full road width either. They're planning on just doing 2 lanes and then seeing what it looks, how things end up in the future. And
Interesting.
so one of the things leading to this is UDOT wants to put a traffic signal here at 200 North, but they would prefer to put it in at 400 North. It's already in. They would prefer to take this money from 200 North and put it into helping us put the road in and those improvements. And so,
and my understanding that was like a 3 or 4 year agreement. They have to do something there to move on that.
about
to
a
get the money.
2-year, probably 2 to 3.
Yeah, 2 to 3 years that they have to start on that road to get the
Isn't there
funding.
a year notice for the church?
There's a year notice for the church, yes.
I listened to that city council meeting. Apparently there's been a lot of discussion behind closed doors on that for a while. There was a lot of discussion if a light didn't go in, that there would still be some kind of median or something in that
Yeah,
intersection.
there's still the possibility UDOT could still put a median in there to not let people make
To
left-hand.
control,
Yeah, they've had a
the
number of
terrain, yeah.
accidents. It warrants a traffic signal, but they would
Uh-huh.
prefer to put it at 400 North, hoping more people will use that to go to State Street.
and so that road that went down through the Thornton property, that was originally, what, a 66 foot?
Yes.
And so by the city buying it, they can decide to make that a smaller, narrower road?
Right, we can, because it's not developing the property around it necessarily
Okay.
yet. And so we can control how wide that is for now.
Well, the property owner and the residents should be quite happy with this decision, huh?
I know the property owner is,
Yeah.
you know, 400 West, our engineering department, you know, does want to look at traffic calming on there and.
Because it
and
may,
so,
it may increase the traffic on.
Yes.
How, and I had a question on that when I listened to it. Okay, show me kind of how it would increase the traffic on 400 West. Just kind of explain that to me.
Well, I think you're
'Cause I know there
connecting
were some
this,
concerns.
you're connecting this side of the east side of State Street to,
If you were gonna go south I-15 from my house, for example, or your house even,
Yeah,
you know, instead of turning left on State Street and going over to 1600 North, you're now gonna go straight through the 400 North intersection, hit that road going 400
Oh,
West
okay.
to get
Okay.
on the I-15 on-ramp,
okay.
right in front of Mike's house.
Yeah, and as Mike said, he doesn't want that to be the on-ramp. Get up to speed.
I think we can do some practical things that would at least, you know, dissuade people from getting tickets on that road by
Well,
just
yeah.
putting a couple of stop signs.
Stop
in.
sign.
Scouts honor, I won't speed in front of your house, okay?
But when you got 2 half-mile stretches with no stop sign, that's what would, you know.
Sure.
You know, I really think just a couple of stop signs on that street would help.
Just another thing that, I mean, I think they're talking about putting a park next to that. The only concern I have that if there's parking in that park, how much of that becomes a overflow for the commercial enterprises, the reception center and most of their miles. I mean, that could be a city concern, you know, of how do you preserve parking for the park, but.
Put the park a little further south on the lot there. The parking portion, so people would have to walk.
Better to park there than on the road.
Yes, it's just,
Might be,
yeah, so,
right now they're just in that cul-de-sac.
okay, anything else?
I don't think so. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, last time I asked about the Market Farms construction,
Yeah.
and you said, well, they got a permit to put a fence in, and you were gonna look at that, because there's an awfully lot of construction
I had my
going
building
on.
official go over today, and he said everything they're doing is landscaping and fence, so
Okay,
he said everything is legit, and he
okay,
didn't
that's great.
he didn't have any concerns.
It looks really nice. It just looked like more than a fence.
Yeah, and it is, there's some other landscaping things going on.
It
and-
looks very nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I was also asked by others to, check into that, and so that's why Bryce went over there today
Okay.
and looked into it, so.
And of course, we always wonder about 700 North,
Yeah,
because I know there was a lot of discussion about, concerning developer and
yeah,
those
so
kind of
we're
things.
working on the development agreement with them, and hopefully, within the next 30 days, we'll be bringing that to you guys for review, so.
With including the big box?
So the development agreement so the site, it'll have the whole south side planned, it'll show that big box, so the development agreement will address how much residential, how much commercial, the open space, parking, everything like that to address the development there, the allowable uses.
And so when did you say that would be coming to us?
Hopefully in the next 30 days.
Okay, okay.
Might be 45, but
And then another commissioner wanted me to bring,
Well, I've given a lot of my neighbors asking me, is there not a code that requires or restricts how many vehicles you can place on a piece of property? Or is there a requirement to screen them or something? That Locust and Fourth North parcel has just become a wrecking yard. And I didn't know, Mayor Dane said there was an ordinance.
there is for inoperable vehicles. So we'll have to see if those are inoperable or operable, but
So there's nothing with how many cars you can put on it?
a limit on how many cars?
not necessarily. I'll look into it. I haven't addressed that question specifically on the number of cars, but there is for inoperable, I know for sure, but I'll have to check on
One
the
thought
total
I
number.
had is, I mean, we're gonna have a temple opening up sometime this year maybe. And we kinda, as a city, it would be nice to up our game a little bit. And if we could look at I'm all for property rights, but there ought to be some restriction as to what you can do with your property as far as visual impact upon the other residents around you. And maybe we ought to look at some ordinances that, I know many cities say you have to have front landscaping in within a certain time. We don't have anything like that, I don't think.
We do for new residential. They have to have it in within 1 year. But if it's,
House on that piece.
but if it's an existing home like that, all I can do is tell them,
Oh, the one that went on,
that predated our ordinance.
Did?
Yes.
Only hadn't been in for a year and a half.
Yeah, it did predate our ordinance. And so all I can really do is tell them, keep their weeds less than 6 inches in, or vegetation less than 6 inches in height.
Speaking to the temple opening, I guess no update on
No.
Number one,
the question,
most
huh?
frequently asked question, huh?
It's kind of looking more and more like it may not happen this year.
Yeah.
I think they'll have to schedule a little bit around the schools and stuff like that. 3 schools, 3 buses.
And they're not worried about scheduling around that.
Oh, I'm sure they are. For their open house and stuff?
No, but I mean, it's not gonna fit that schedule as far as summer break and that.
Well, but they're gonna have their open house when there's,
Yeah.
they've already told me that.
The temple told you that?
Mhm.
I
Oh,
saw
they
these
did?
planners
Yeah.
pop up over here. Is that gonna continue on to, through Center Street going east?
Just on
or is
those
that-
bulb out areas, I believe it is. I
Is
think
that
there's,
part of sort of making a pretty approach to the temple then?
Mm-hmm.
They're looking nice.
Center Street's looking good.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, it is.
looks really good.
nice. So there's another place on, as long as we're talking about 400 North, where there's several, it looks like cars that have been sitting there abandoned. It's right in that 200 North area.
Okay.
Sitting on the side of the road that look like they've been parked there and abandoned there for quite a while. So I don't know if you're,
Okay, if you'll get me a
I'll
address, that'd be
get it
great.
for you.
I have a question since you brought that up.
Uh-huh.
It's been interesting to me. We have a neighbor on 40 South that has cars parked by the power station. Not licensed, they've been there for years, he never drives them, nobody does anything. So there is an ordinance that he shouldn't be doing that.
Well, if they're non-functional, and they're just parked
for
there.
a couple of years, so
Oh.
I'm assuming they're non-functional, yes.
Yeah, Provo City, I think their rule, because I've talked crossways with them before with some tenants, but if there's not a current registration, so it's hard to determine whether they're operable or not operable, but if there's not a current registration, they need to be screened.
Yeah.
I think that's how Provo City's ordinance reads.
I know this person would not be easy to work with, but they
they're just abandoned vehicles?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't drive them.
They used to be his driver and it kills or dies on him and he just buys in the car and there it sits.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the one on Locust and Fourth North especially bad, is because we've got those two corners, both of them have, one has 6 cars and the other has 32.
32?
You really counted 32 cars?
If those cars were moved in his backyard or parked in his driveway or something, I guess that would solve some of the problems, but when they're right along the side of the road, and the weeds are almost taller than the cars.
Yeah.
Then they're screened.
Pardon?
That must mean they're screened by the weeds. I'm just kidding.
So, I mean, is there any ordinance that says, hey, you have to move these after 30 days?
Well, they're not supposed to be
anything like
parked on the
that?
street if they're not,
Well, there's your definition, just like
Yeah.
you said.
yeah.
This allows, storage of inoperable vehicles. No more than 10 vehicles which are abandoned, inoperable, dismantled, or junk vehicles are being parked for repairs for longer than 72 hours shall be kept on such parcel of property.
Is that both commercial and residential?
This is non-residential.
It was,
Okay, here's residential. No vehicles which are being stored on any parcel of real property within the residential zoning district within the city which are abandoned, inoperable, dismantled junk vehicles shall be kept on such parcel of property. This chapter is not intended to prohibit the repair or restoration of private vehicles which is in open view from a public street, providing the owner makes reasonable progress and provided not more than one vehicle is involved. Reasonable progress shall be defined as vehicles being repaired and made operable, including valid vehicle registration within 90 days from the date of notification of the city. It shall be legal to store more than one inoperable motor vehicle on private property in residential zone if the vehicle is not visible from the street or from the public or private property.
That's if they're on their property, but if they're parked on the street, they shouldn't be there.
That's right. So if you want to get me the address, I can have our code enforcement look into it.
Which says registration, just like you said, Jerry.
interesting.
Well, it's just something that we ought to look at.
Today I learned.
But, our ordinances though, they are pretty flexible. Like that property that Rob and Sharon are talking about, they just got a home occupation license from the city for a dump truck. Well, the ordinance says if it's less than a certain weight, then you can have the dump truck on the property at the home. And this dump truck is less than that weight, and so we had to approve the business license for them to have a dump truck on the property.
Gotcha.
So,
Well, maybe he could take a look at it.
yes,
Look at this
we'll have him take a
place.
look at it.
See what can be done.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or? Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll call for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, you got it.
You.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
Give me one